Hi and welcome to my channel. In the lead into Valentine's Day this year, today is February 1st, 2025. In the lead into Valentine's Day, which is the 14th of February, obviously, this year, I am doing a series of readings which I am titling Adam and Eve in Legoland. These readings were born from a trip that I had to make to the Apple store a couple of days ago. And on my way there, I passed the Lego store and I was intuitively drawn in. And when I went in there, I started to get all of these downloads. And over the past couple of days, I've come and I've done readings on all of these messages that I had coming through. When you think about Lego, it's about building a relationship that you are building. These are soulmate readings. They are love readings, a collection of love readings, which will all be housed in this playlist, Adam and Eve in Legoland. Why Adam and Eve? Because I was getting the story of Wally and Eve from the movie Wally, and a lot of the other messages that were coming through, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the apple. A lot of the other messages that were coming through tied back to previous messages that I have been getting about divine couples with specific reference to Adam and Eve, and how the connection between the two drew one or the other out of a comfort zone and towards each other. So if you want the full crux of this story and the full story of my trip into the Lego store, make sure you watch reading 1. As I said, the link to them will be in the description box. But this intro, as I mentioned, will be used across all of the readings. So hopefully there will be some information in these readings for you. If you are currently in a soulmate journey with somebody and you're wanting to delve a little deeper into it, specifically a soulmate connection where you are in separation, or where there are hidden feelings as in Wally and Eve, or where there is something that is actually separating a connection, physically, mentally, financially, some sort of separation. So if that's something that interests you, I will see you in your reading. Hi and welcome to this reading. Today's reading is another in this series of readings that I am doing in the lead up to Valentine's Day. This one though, if you haven't already, I would suggest going and watching the reading before this and the one before that, because there is major tie-ins with the energy that I'm picking up on in this particular reading to those two readings. You can find all of the readings on a playlist called Adam and Eve in Legoland. Now, if you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. A bit about me first. I'm an intuitive tarot reader. I pick up on energy prior to a reading. I will then come and use my tarot and oracle decks to further clarify that message. As I finished the last reading, I set about doing a bit of housekeeping, and I just kept getting messages come through, songs, downloads, pieces of information. So I've come back to pull some more cards. As I said, it is an extension of the previous two readings that I've done this morning, and that often happens when there's still information, still energy that needs to come through. Maybe you're in the beginning phases of possibly those two readings, and then this is for somebody who's a bit more in depth and looking for a bit more information into that particular journey. Now, fragments of this reading might resonate with you. It could be the whole reading, it could just be parts. You are guided to tarot readings or pieces of information on your soul's journey that pertain to things that you're intuitively picking up on. They're little pieces of the puzzle that you're meant to collect and add into the bigger puzzle of life that you are trying to build in and around a soulmate connection. This reading for me is probably more into the framework of why things have played out the way they have played out. So if the reading resonates with you, please give it a like. If you haven't already, please subscribe. I'm just going to check that I'm recording. I am. And now all of the decks that I use on my channel are my own designs because I'm also an illustrator. But if you call to any of those, the links to them can be found in the description box. So when I was doing my cleaning in between readings, I kept hearing the song Pride in the Name of Love. That's a U2 song, and it is about Martin Luther King. The lines that I was hearing were early morning, April 4th, shots ring out in the Memphis sky. Free love, don't know the next line. They could not take our pride. And I've written down some notes about this connection that you are in, about these connections that are coming back around astrologically within the alignments that are currently in the sky. These are the channel messages that I was getting. This love is a gift given to you by your ancestors. It's a do-over that is happening as part of the Pluto and Aquarius transit. Now, the Pluto and Aquarius transit started in November last year, and it rolls through. It's a 20-year transit, and it rolls through until 2044. It happens every 250 years. It is revolution. It is the French Revolution. It is the American Revolution. It is the revolution, if you think about William Wallace and Braveheart. It's huge, 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 major change. But if you think of a big transit like that, there has to be many things that happen in the lead up to it. Now, I'm only going back 80 years, or 84 years to be precise, because 84 years ago, we had World War II. And why do we know that? Obviously, we can look at the dates, but astrologically, there are things that are happening in the sky at the moment that were happening in World War II. In June this year, Jupiter, which is currently in Gemini, which is being trapped. That's the Eight of Swords card, being trapped. Jupiter is currently in Gemini. In June this year, Jupiter goes into Cancer. Cancer is the Chariot card in the tarot. Luck moving forward. Now, World War II was a 7-year transit. If you've watched my readings, you know that that 7 number comes through over and over and over again. 1939, 1940, 1941, 1942, 1943, 1944, 1945 was World War II. Your grandparents, depending on how old you are, or your great-grandparents, somebody within your family was part of that 7-year transit in terms of a love story, a gift given to you by your ancestors. Now, if you think about love back then, no internet, no cell phones, no social media, no text message, no find my iPhone. You don't know where that person is, what they're doing, if they're still alive, when they're coming home. These are love stories that were built on faith and love. The channel message that I got, the foundations of your love story were laid in World War II by your grandparents or great-grandparents. Your love story, along with theirs, will be the greatest love story told in your family. A story of love and loss, sacrifice, suffering, and healing. Your love story is the generational curse breaker, ensuring that it will never happen again. Meaning these big separations. There are so many couples in separation at the moment. If we go back 7 years from this year, 2025, we go back to 2019. What was happening in your relationship with the person that you are thinking about in 2019? Maybe that was when your paths crossed. In that reading 2 readings ago, I was picking up the story of Captain America, who met and fell in love with Penny at the beginning of World War II. And by the end, they had separated. Now, you might have grandparents who were able to come back together. You might have grandparents where one grandparent passed away. I know in my family, if I look at, and I'm 50 this year, so if I look at my grandparents, my grandmother and my grandfather was a navigator, the Air Force, and my grandmother worked in the small ammunitions factory, and that's how they met. But it was a different kind of love. I remember the stories of her in her wedding dress. Well, there was one wedding dress and all these girls that had to get married. And so they all wore the same wedding dress. None of this $50,000 on a wedding dress, $200,000 on a wedding. It wasn't about that. It was actually about the fact that they were in love and they appreciated the fact that they had been separated and they'd been given the gift of reunion with that person, or given the gift, if they hadn't met somebody, of meeting somebody in and around that time frame. Now that song, Pride in the Name of Love, the difference is 84 years later, we are sitting right smack bang at the start of the Pluto and Aquarius transit. Aquarius is the rebel. Aquarius is the humanitarian. Aquarius is essentially Martin Luther King. And if we look at the generations that have gone, so for example, 1925 to 1945, which would have been your grandparents or your great-grandparents, those people that were at war in World War II, they essentially built the society that we live in. The next generation, which is my parents who are in their late 70s and early 80s, 1945 to 1964, they're the baby boomers. They're all of this young love, all of these people getting married after the war and starting families. I think the average family, 3.5 children after the war. And those children then built the economy, all the growth that we've had. 1964 to 1979 is Gen X. A little bit of, anti-establishment. 1980 to 1994 is Gen Y, the travelers. We're doing things with the person that you love. Going places, traveling was what love was about. And then we've got 1995 to 2009, the Gen Zers. Z is the end of the alphabet. It's the end of this cycle. Resilience, open. They are people that have friends everywhere. There's no structures, and they see everything. And they see everything that's currently going on in society. Then you have the big players in society. Because if you look at the things that have separated people in society, we had COVID for 3 or 4 years. Big things that actually mimic what was happening back in World War II. But now we've got a generation of people who can clearly see what's going on and are actually the change makers, because we've come into this Pluto and Aquarius transit. They will be the demise of anything standing in egoic energy that's trying to stop them from stepping forward into love. We've got the Temperance card. This was a card that came out in the pre-shuffle. The Temperance card is Sagittarius and Jupiter. Jupiter is luck, 777. And on the 7th of the 7th this year, 2025, the 7th of July this year, Uranus goes into Gemini. That placement happened when the bombs were dropped on Hiroshima, which essentially ended the war. VE Day in Europe, VJ Day in America, and brought all the soldiers home. The Temperance card. Temperance is divine timing. The other card we've got here is the North Node in Leo. That's from my Nodes of Destiny deck. Leo is the opposite of Aquarius. So if we're thinking of a 20-year Pluto and Aquarius transit, it's the people rising up against those that are in power. World War II, it was the people rising up against Hitler, bringing an end to the war. Think about now, we've got all of these marches around the world, the people rising up against anybody who is standing in Leo energy, pride, but in a negative sense. I can think of some current world leaders. I watched a thing this morning with 2 current world leaders, and I think about their parents. The current sitting president of the United States is about the same age as my father, which means his parents would have been, I'm not sure, in and around World War II. And the legacy that's left, those thought patterns that are imprinted. If you think about the man he was standing beside, who's wreaked havoc in the Middle East over the past 12 months. It's got very Gog and Magog. God bringing people together, 2 evils together. so they can be taken down. If you've got a North Node in Leo, your mission in life is to rock the stage with confidence and flaunt your unique skills. Soak up the spotlight by taking charge at work and social circles. Trust your gut more than your brain with a Leo North Node. That's people who are running on ego. And what I would say to you, because I had that song, Pride, Martin Luther King, and I said in that channel message, you are the change makers. Your love has been built on this massive cycle that runs all the way back to World War II. The relationships that you can look at from the older generations in your family and take from that the parts that are beautiful, the parts that you want to instill in this relationship that you want to bring in. Potentially because you can see externally, there are many people running on ego, and that's not the relationships that you want to build. This relationship that you're bringing in, you are the change maker. You're getting a do-over, and I would say to you that you're probably being guided. And the reason I say that is because this little teacup here, actually, I'll pull one out of my drawer. This teacup was given to me by my grandmother. Now, she fell in love in World War II with my grandfather. He was in the military police. And she knew that I love blue and white china. So as she moved from her home into a smaller little room at the retirement village, she started to give away her things. And she gave me a set of these teacups, not these ones specifically. I went and found some more and I've made candles into them. But that was the basis of these cards. This tarot deck, my Lovebirds tarot deck, was based on that story. So here I am doing tarot readings for people in regards to a love that you want to bring in using a set of teacups given to me by my grandmother, who had this beautiful love story. They were married 70 years. It literally was till death do us part. 70 years. And here I am doing a tarot reading using, that's how it's connected. There's a connection between a love story from the past in your family or in your soulmate's family that interplays here in what's going on. There may have been some separation. There may have been some adversity in that love story. He was in the military police stationed at the top of Australia. Her father was the local policeman. And so that's how they met. But she lived at the top of Australia and his family was from the bottom of Australia. Now, unless you've been to Australia, you don't realise how big it is. But we used to drive from the top to the bottom 3 times a year to stay with my grandparents. And it was 2 10-hour days in the car, driving straight, and then another 6-hour day in the car. That's how far they lived away from each other. But they made it work. And if you don't know the love stories of these people, find out, ask questions, because they're the ones that are actually guiding you in the ethers. Okay, let's get guiding you, angel. Let's get, this is my Divine Messages Oracle deck. Let's get a card. We've got a no and a maybe. This is interesting. And a perfect match. Deepening the bond. I'm going to leave those there because I'm interested to see what that means. A no, a maybe, and a perfect match. That's a definitely. Maybe there's some unsureness here. The foundations of this love were laid in World War II by your grandparents or great-grandparents. The greatest love story told in your family is your love story, a story of love and loss, sacrifice and suffering and healing. You are the generational curse breaker, ensuring it will never happen again. Okay, let's get an energy around this connection. 6 of Wands, victory after a long battle. Happening in the 3D of this connection. The 3 of Wands, that's ships coming in. setting sail for new adventures. And as I said, 1939 to 1945 was 7 years. 2019 to 2025 is 7 years. The 7th of the 7th is Uranus in Gemini. The twins is the card in Gemini is the twins. Gemini in the tarot is depicted, in the original tarot, is depicted as Adam and Eve, which takes us back to the original reason I was doing all of these readings. Some sacrifice that's been made, and maybe it's just a separation, a sacrifice that has been made. The Devil card in the tarot is where people are chained together. Toxic patterns, you know, things that happen in life, wars, COVID, toxic people that step in and step over boundaries of love relationships, things that actually keep you apart. The Three of Wands is the Sun in Aries. Aries is moving forward. It's almost like a new day. It's like VE day. What's happening in the soul? The moon. It's hidden. It's not really, because look. Having a little kiss on the bridge at night time with a big moon. The moon is Pisces and Neptune. A 10 of Pentacles on the bottom. The message from the man upstairs. 10 of Wands, the end. That's karmic completion. That's Phoenix rising from the ashes. That is Saturn in Sagittarius, the explorer. And look, the Emperor. Everybody's been in a battle and everybody's had a part to play. If I think about my grandparents, my grandfather, as I said, he was a navigator. He would fly, and I've actually got his flight books. I haven't got them here with me, but he would fly from Australia over to Singapore and other countries in Asia, and they actually collected all the prisoners of war that were being held by the Japanese in the camps, and he brought them home. Now, as I said, my grandmother, she had a role to play. If he wasn't a navigator, they wouldn't have been able to get there, and then they wouldn't have been able to bring them home. She had a role to play. She was making small arms in the ammunition factory. She had a role to play. You've both been on individual journeys. You've both had a role to play in something that is going to play out, or something that has played out in the last 7 years. And maybe you haven't even been aware of how strategic that role has been. Maybe you felt like you were just doing your part, or just living your life, or just standing in your Emperor energy, doing what you thought you were meant to do. But it's all intertwined, and it's intertwined in terms of what happened in World War II. And I would say to you, if you look at the current Prime Minister of Israel as an example, now that's who was standing with the sitting President of the United States in that thing that I saw this morning, which was just horrendous. But anyway, two people playing God, and it's not an excuse, because but is not an excuse, but they are shaped and molded by their parents and their grandparents. Well, really, it would be their parents who would have been World War II, and the circumstances around their parents. But it then interplays with everything else that happens. They were pieces of a puzzle on that chessboard in World War II, as were my grandparents or your great-grandparents, whoever it was, all pieces to play. And it's all coming full circle through this Pluto and Aquarius transit, which is right now, astrologically, right now, tying in with the 84-year transit of World War II, guided now by your ancestors, your grandparents, your grandparents' parents, depending on your age, all coming through. No? Are you listening? Maybe. Are you listening? Perfect match. And you can see them. I've got this vision of up in the sky, clapping and cheering, because this relationship is coming in. And because with it coming in this Pluto and Aquarius transit, there's going to be change. Now, this is the outcome. That's what that is. Those people standing in Leo energy, no. Those people sitting on the fence, and this is you. And we got the Two of Cups, the soulmate connection, and the Queen of Pentacles standing in your power. Humanitarian energy is what I've got coming through. If you look at the last Pluto in Aquarius transit, and I know I say this all the time, and if you watch my readings regularly, you will know exactly what I'm about to say, but it's really important because history repeats. In the last Pluto in Aquarius transit, we had the French Revolution. Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette were sitting in the castle eating cake. The people were starving. They had sent all of their money. So if you think of kings and queens, that's Leo energy. It's pride. It's Leo the lion. I'm the king. I'm the king of the castle. I'm the king of the jungle. They had sent any money that they had left over, they had sent across to America to help fund the American Revolution. Why did they do that? Because they hated the English. And anybody that was fighting the English, they were going to support. But what it did is it left no money in their country to feed their people. A huge big Gog and Magog, the Tower of Babel, a huge big earthquake. It wasn't an earthquake, but things come out for a reason. A huge big volcano erupted in Iceland, which spewed a blanket of ash across the whole of Europe for 8 months. All of the farmers lost all of their crops. Nothing would grow because there was no sun. So then they were really hungry. That was the catalyst for the French Revolution. Pluto in Aquarius was that transit. The people, Aquarius, taking down Leo, the higher-ups. Now, in beautiful symmetry, we've got the current sitting president, well, even the past president of the United States, in cahoots with the president of, or Prime Minister of Israel, sending all of this money. There's been all of these things happen in America, and America is known as Babylon. All of these things been happening in America. Natural disasters, where the American people have been in need. I think when that hurricane went through Florida, the National Guard had actually been sent to Israel instead of being at home to help these people with the cleanup. When the fires went through LA, I think that week America had sent another $8 billion to Israel, but they gave $770 to each person affected by the fire. It's just got this, I want to say, beautiful symmetry. And what will happen is you will see this mass uprising. Because a revolution happens from within. Revolution, the Beatles song. They say you want a revolution. It's a revolution that's happening from within. And for this love story, it's a revolution that's happening from within, being backed and supported by ancestors. It's a do-over of a love story. Okay, let's get 6 of Wands. The energy around you. This is victory after a long battle, a long separation. 5 of Swords, which is Venus in Aquarius. That's sometimes that is putting the swords down, walking away from the battle. I just heard you've got bigger fish to fry. Why battle the people around you when you've got a bigger battle, a humanitarian battle on your hands? And this had been coming through in some of the readings too. This is about this revolution of bringing back beautiful love stories, wholesome love stories, relationships like my grandparents, where they were married for 70 years. My other grandparents, only because my grandfather passed away earlier, married for 50 years. Parents have been married for 50 years. My husband and I, a couple of weeks ago, celebrated 25 years of marriage. That's not normal. But that's what needs to come back. Justice on the bottom. I want to say here too, it's almost, as I said before, that Gog and Magog. Gog and Magog were in the Bible, and they basically, they ended up battling each other, I think. So if you think of, if you put two alphas in a ring and they go in as friends, they will eventually tear each other apart. Here, look at that, King of Swords. Uranus and Libra. Tear each other apart, which actually brings the balance back. The Magician, trickery, and the Two of Wands. It's all part of the plan. All part of the plan. Let's have a look at this Three of Wands, which is the Sun in Aries, the world, karmic completion. How beautiful. This is the new journey that you're on in this relationship. And the Ten of Wands, the end of a karmic cycle, karmic completion, Saturn. The Moon. Yeah. The hard work has paid off. The Queen of Pentacles, we've got her up here as well. All I get from that card is resilience. The resilience that's been gained. And I think too, you know, I look at my grandparents and when World War II ended, you know, the stories of they were living in a tin shed and they were carting water to and from the house just to have a bath at night. And you had to walk outside and, you know, in the middle of winter and use the toilet outside. And actually I heard something the other day that, you know, if you were really wealthy, then the man that came to empty the toilets came twice a week instead of once a week. You know, we live in this society where everything is given to us and everything is disposable, and so we don't have any understanding of how valuable things actually are and what people from our past actually went through in order to put us in a position where we are now. As I said, that generation, 1925 to 1945, they were the builders. They built our society. And what have we done with it? We've destroyed it from a material point of view, because nothing has value anymore because it all just gets thrown away. But we've destroyed it from a perspective of long-lasting love. Everything is disposable. Relationships are in and out, and it's bringing that back. Ten of Wands. The message from the man upstairs. Three of Cups, which is Mercury in Cancer. It's bringing it back. It's a card of celebration. And maybe that's why there's been a bigger separation in this particular cycle. Nine of Swords. Is because we actually needed to understand the value of love. If you think about Adam and Eve in context to this story, yeah, that's what it is. No, maybe, perfect match. They had the Garden of Eden. These love stories that came out of World War II, they had the Garden of Eden because they understood the value of love, because they were separated from it. They understood the value of love and the value of waiting for somebody and the value of staying faithful and committed. And even if you were living in a shed and you had 5 kids and you had no money, I keep hearing not a pot to piss in, you knew the value of love. That was the sacrifice, the Garden of Eden. The sacrifice that they made in the Garden of Eden was that they didn't have any of that stuff. They didn't have the money. They didn't have the material wealth. And now we've got the material wealth, but not the love. Right now, because Adam and Eve is the first judgment, is when they got booted out of the Garden of Eden. And then you have the second judgment, which is where we are now. No, maybe, perfect match. These relationships coming back in. because they've experienced a separation, experienced heartache. Individually, people within them have done the spiritual work or are in the process of doing the spiritual work. And then God is coming in and saying, okay, I will give you the Garden of Eden, but show me the work you've done. The Two of Cups. Yeah, what have you learnt? Page of Pentacles is the card of the student. What have you learnt? What have you learnt about love? The Two of Swords. At a crossroads, a maybe. What have you learnt? This is not, oh yeah, I think I've done the work. I think we'll be fine. This judgment as to whether this relationship comes back in or not, the Two of Pentacles on the bottom, is not your decision. It's the man upstairs as to whether you're a perfect match. And as to whether you're a perfect match is based on the work that you've done. Because otherwise you're just going to get booted out of the Garden of Eden again. Okay, what do I want now? Let's have a look at what angel is walking with you. Heals depression and impatience, number 30, Omiel. That's the Ace of Wands, which is a new beginning, but it's Phoenix rising from the ashes. Have you learnt the lesson of love? And 24, general protection, which is the Knight of Wands. This is the Ace of Wands. Are you just charging back in? The Knight of Wands can be very in and out energy. Are you just charging back in? Because, I just heard because you want to get lucky. And in that respect, general protection. Are you in it for the long haul? Interesting. And if you think about those couples that got married after, I mean, my mother is one of 5. It was a baby boomer, post-World War II baby. No contraception then, general protection. You know, you had 5 kids because you had 5 kids. Balsamic moon, the healing hour. New moon in Libra, the start of a brand new romantic chapter. Once in a blue moon, dare to believe in the impossible. Last year was a blue moon, actually. Let's have a look at a song. Have we got any songs that can give us any more information about this connection? Beautiful soul. I don't want another pretty face charging in. I don't want another pretty face. I don't want just anyone to hold. I don't want my love to go to waste. I want you and your beautiful soul. You're the one I want to chase. You're the one I want to hold. I won't let another minute go to waste. I want you and your beautiful soul. This card, that's how you'll know. Amy Adams, that's from the Enchanted movie. That's how she knows that you love her. That's how you show her you love her. You've got to show her you need her. Don't treat her like a mind reader. How do you know that you love her? That's how you know that you love her. It's not enough to take the one you love for granted. That's interesting. Somebody not knowing how to express their feelings, so they come forward in a very lusty. Actually, that came through in the songs from the last reading. I got Pink Floyd's Young Lust. If you think of all those boys coming back from World War II, that's about showing somebody that you love them. I'm going to say the old-fashioned way, but I don't mean it like that. I mean through non-impulsive actions. I just heard chivalry's back. That's been coming through as well. At last, Etta James. At last, my love has come along. My lonely days are over and life is like a song. At last, the skies above are blue. My heart was wrapped up in clover the night I looked at you. That's old-fashioned love. Let's see what else we get. I love you always forever. That's actually lovely because that song reminds me of when my husband and I met. I had already decided to move to England for 12 months on a working visa. And so we weren't together as a couple. We were best friends, but we knew we had feelings for each other. And I had to get on that plane and leave. And war references in here, grenade. I would go through all of this pain, take a bullet straight through my brain. Yes, I would die for you, baby, but would you do the same? If you go back, that is actually a reference to the reading that I did 2 readings ago. The good guy sacrificed for others and now gets the girl. The title of that will be fairly similar because I haven't finished editing that video. But it was about Captain America and him taking one for the team. And true. Spandau Ballet, so true. Funny how it seems, always in time, but never in line for dreams. Head over heels, went toe to toe. This is the sound of my soul. This is the sound. I bought a ticket to the world, but now I've come back again. Why do I find it hard to write the next line? Oh, I want the truth to be said. Okay, let's get some messages, some love messages for Hero. That wanted to come out to Enrique Iglesias. Self-love, dreams, you inspire me. This could be messages from you to your person or your person to you. You make me feel alive. Jealousy. Karmic connection. Head versus heart. I'm so frustrated. That's that separation. It's part of your path and purpose though. Part of this relationship. Part of understanding the value of this relationship is what I want to say, and freedom. I'm ready to leave my old life behind, which is a nod to the current astrological alignments and the connection with the end of that separation, that big 7-year separation cycle that was in World War II, coming now in 2025 to a store near you. Okay, let's get some Scrabble tiles. In here, Scrabble tiles, letters and numbers. Jasmine Holland. And there's a little rose there. Delphs. Never really looked at that before. That might mean something for somebody. Letters and numbers in here, I'll call them out. Could be your first, middle, last initial or that of your person. Just take them as they resonate. I'm going to give it a shake. It does make a little bit of noise. So if you have hearing sensitivity, just turn the volume down. I'm going to shake it in 3, 2, 1. Any of those ones. Now we've got a tower here. An X, that's the end. X and an 8, a G and a 2. A P and a 3, a Q and a 10, a W and a 4, an O and a 1, an S and a 1, a C and a 3, a Z and a 10, again the end, an F and a 4, a T and a 1, an A and a 1, and a J and an 8. Now finally I'm going to get you 3 final cards. Anything else? What I would say to you though is really have a real big deep dive into, just ask some questions about the love stories that were happening within the realms of your family, mother's, father's side, in and around World War II. The moon. The moon is Pisces and Neptune. A deep dive, that's what that is. A fated. You've been guided by these people. Yeah, look at that, Judgment. Being guided back into the Garden of Eden. By the hidden stories, the hidden love stories of the past. 3 of Pentacles. That are part of the building of this new love story with whoever this is in your life. That's really beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me on this reading. If the reading resonated with you, please give it a like. If you haven't already, please subscribe. If you're called to any of my tarot or oracle decks, the links to those can be found in the description box. Any of the songs or movies that I mentioned will also be found in the description box. There could be more messages in the lyrics to the songs, the movies that the songs are attached to, the album covers, messages everywhere. You're getting messages everywhere. Thanks again, and I'll see you again in another reading.